Hey everyone, MSX here.
And Juhwann.
And now that we all know the big participants in the upcoming console generation, it's now time for me to give my impressions. And I brought Juhwann along. Yeah, see how good my speech is this late. So why not we start off with the biggest blunder that's fresh in our minds?
The Xbox One's name, which is even more confusing than the Wii U.
How about the
It'll
Xbox
probably be even
One?
worse for months.
How about the Xbox One just in general? As I saw in a video and what people are saying, it can be summed up in one word: TV.
Yeah, the thing about the Xbox One is that, and this is just something that you really notice with Microsoft near the end of the Xbox's life, is that they really had a huge problem with trying to make their game system a multimedia system and not a system. That's fine to make a multimedia system, but don't try to market it for gamers if it's not a game system.
I know. What they're
It's a
practically doing
multi.
is marketing a receiver, and it isn't even a receiver because you still need your actual receiver, I heard. It's almost like the Wii U with the Nintendo TV. See, at least Nintendo just dabbled with it like a little side extra. Microsoft is making that the key component, and that's what's gonna make the system crash and burn. You did really bad if your comparative stock goes up 12% during your reveal.
Yeah, that's just a sad state of affairs for Microsoft. At the end of the day, I think that they could have had a good system launch, but the problem was that they were when they announced it, they chose a terrible name for one, and then after choosing
Is
a
that supposed
really
to be a
bad.
pun?
Oh God, no, just no. But
Yeah, I was. Oh,
the
continue.
name was bad, and then on top of that, then you have the whole problem of just like what it is. It's going to be like an always online thing.
Practically is, since they said you have to have it connect to the internet at least once every 24 hours. Yeah, Xbox One, that's just, is like, wait, is your third system really your first system? Or as my friend's joking, are you just taking 359 steps backwards? Might as well be at this point. Let's see, always online. I mean, I was getting really hyped up for the Xbox One because they did really well with the 360. So I was really looking forward to getting the Xbox One. But after that whole reveal and what all the bull that they're pulling, I'm going back to Sony. I mean, paying a fee for a used game, you're probably going to end
Yeah,
up paying more than if you were to buy it new, and that's going to create an issue once they drop support for the one, because after they drop support, because you have to pay the fee in order to get not Sony, Microsoft, to allow you to play the game on your system. Well, what happens in 20 years? Is whatever game you have on your system going to be the only game you ever get to play? Because I'm looking more towards the future when it'll be that day when the system goes retro and you tell your son about how much of a miserable failure it was. Let's see, what else? I guess installing the games on the hard drive is a pretty okay idea, so you don't have to fiddle around with the disks anymore, but also at the same time, the hard drive is 500 gigabytes.
that's
Consi-
not a lot for a hard drive.
Considering that Blu-ray drive, since it does have a Blu-ray drive, holds about 30 gigs, that's going to fill up fast. Not only that, surprise, you get to pay another fee if you want to attach another hard drive to your Xbox One. The only thing I guess I could commend them on is I heard the Kinect's going to be better, even though I have to see it to believe it, and at least they didn't screw up the controller. What was I saying? Thinking, oh yeah, I remember like a year or two ago how they filed a patent for the Kinect to detect how many people are in the room, and if it sees like two or three people, then it stops the movie or whatnot. Hello?
Yeah,
Remember that
I mean,
from
yeah, I remember that back in the day.
I'm wondering if they did that patent for the Xbox One. I wouldn't be surprised considering all the BS they're doing with the system. Have it so Oh, you're playing a game. Oh, your friend comes in. We're just gonna shut off the system now because we can't have your friend watch the game as well.
It's kind of retarded on Microsoft's part.
Yeah,
Like, really, I just don't see what their ideal is here.
I could see the Xbox One being the flop system of Generation 8. Now, moving on to probably what's going to be the swan song of Generation 8, the PS4. Because Sony seems to really be pushing the system after they knew the PS3 didn't do so hot.
I think it did okay.
Well, yeah, it did okay. I know it had a lot of great exclusives. If you look at the sales chart, though, it was at the bottom. Of course, the Wii being on top, and then the 360 being in the middle. I can say, thank God they're getting rid of that crossbar media interface, because I just did not like that.
Wait,
Uh,
the crossbar media interface?
yeah, basically basically the home menu. It's it looks something almost like the current 360 dashboard, which I like. So that's good. Also, what's another godsend is a brand new controller, because even the DualShock controller was a really good controller. I will give him credit for that. Problem is, you use that controller for 20 straight years, it's not going to age terribly well as you grow older. At
One thing
least,
I didn't
at least now, with the controller being bigger, it's going to be a little more ergonomic. Although one thing they really need to do is move those analog sticks around, because the current position just isn't the greatest. And I hear clicking.
Yeah. You hear a lot of clicking because at the same time as talking to you, I'm doing something else. So I'm multitasking, but I'm doing okay at the moment. I just wanted to tell you that beforehand.
One,
But yeah, I'm listening at the same time.
uh, Also, another thing which I don't know how gimmicky is going to work out is that touchpad to put on the system, because it just looks like a little bit of an awkward spot being in between the two analog sticks and the buttons. Um, Although one
Mhm.
thing I do like though is how they put a little headphone jack on the controller. Oh,
I just don't like how it seems like with each individual like addition to the actual to like the new generations of consoles, it always seems like they're trying more and more to make them more and more gimmicky based. I'm always noticing that. More and more gimmicks are being spread onto us.
yeah, gimmicks is their way of trying to be, um, oh god dang it. Firstly on a long week and I'm ready for game vocabulary. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have like
gimmicks.
so much going.
Yeah.
I have so much going on at school at the moment. Just doing what I'm doing now is already having my brain fly in different directions at the same time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess gimmicky now is their interchangeable term for innovation. Um, Speaking of the controller, I just want to go back to the Xbox One. Did you see the Xbox One controller?
I haven't seen the controller, but I've seen the console.
Well, fortunately, the controller is practically the same as the current um, controller. One thing I will say though, you know the headphone jack on the bottom of the 360 controller? I'll take that as a yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm listening. But sometimes I don't know what to say, so I'm just like
Oh, I was just
I hope
asking.
they t-
Oh, I was
I
just
hope
at.
they takes this as my awkward silence as a yes. I hope he doesn't try to get me to answer directly because I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was just asking if you knew about the headphone jack on the bottom of the 360 controller.
No.
Well, anyways, on the bottom of the 360 controller is the little headphone jack where you plug in your headset. Well, you can say goodbye to that because now Microsoft's going to some nice proprietary BS.
God damn it.
So, yeah,
Microsoft and your proprietary BS. No fun.
yeah, first time they go proprietary. Well, which means that $200 headset you bought, haha, you're not going to be able to
Haha,
use
you're
that.
not getting any type of use out of it.
Nope. However, one thing I do like is now the battery pack is integrated into the controller, and it's also chargeable via the micro USB, so you don't need to fumble around with AA batteries anymore.
That sounds actually pretty good, that you don't have to rely on batteries anymore, at
Yeah,
least.
Unfortunately, like I said, it's mostly identical to the 360 controller. One thing I'm gonna bring this up afterwards. We talk about the Wii U and another console. I'm probably gonna call this generation the Xbox 360 controller generation, and you'll hear why later. Okay, so moving on to PS4. Well, I guess something has to be addressed about the PS4 and the 360, not 360, the One. Not gonna get used to saying that. Neither.
It's an awkward name to say. I don't know why these companies don't choose better
I
names.
know. Is this your third system or your first system? That's gonna really.
No.
That's really gonna.
That's gonna screw up a lot of people because parents don't know anything about video games.
Yeah, I mean, look, people are still confused and think the Wii U is still a Wii. Now imagine the Xbox One. You're gonna. I remember someone on the
Oh,
on the assembler forums that I hang out on every day. There's a little chat box on it. It's like, this is really gonna screw up Google's search engine so much,
oh, it's going to screw it in the butt.
and screw
Just
up
think,
Microsoft sales.
yeah, well, that's Microsoft's fault, honestly.
And um, the name comes from because they're trying to make the Xbox One be the one and only thing you need in your entertainment center.
Like,
But
I get the
quite
joke, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
come
but quite
on.
frankly, that just go with
Artsy
seven.
fartsy stuff doesn't work for video game consoles.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
just go with 720. I mean, everyone was thinking PS4 and it happened, and everyone's okay with it. Um, Also, what's sort of funny is the with how the naming of the systems, where my friend's like, huh, so this generation's going to be one for you.
Ah ha ha ha.
Yeah, bad
I
joke.
get the joke.
Yeah.
One for you.
It's so stupid. Yeah, you
It's so
can't do that with
fucking
any other
funny.
generation.
It's insane. Oh my god, my chest cold's coming out. Alright.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't do that with any other generation. One Saturn 64 doesn't quite work.
Yeah, this
Anyways,
doesn't have this has a ring to it.
anyways, so neither system do offer native backwards compatibility, which is also another kick to the balls. Even though I know it's for cost cutting, and then what's almost a shot of the foot is Microsoft said, "Oh, only 5% users used backwards compatibility, therefore it's not even worth doing in the first place."
Why?
I will say I use my Wii for to play GameCube games, mostly because my GameCube only has the composite out, and trying to get GameCube component cable will charge you more than an iPhone. Um, Also, at the same time, it's a little more convenient. I still have my GameCube out, but if I want to record, I play off the Wii because of the component. Um, the PS3, when I had it, even though I never used backwards compatibility, it was still a nice feature to have. And the 360 being backwards compatible with the Xbox, albeit not as great, is probably going to be the only chance I get to play Panzer Dragoon Orta or Jet Grind Radio Future. And whatever little Xbox games are also floating out there that I might show a slight interest in. I mean, the one thing I could sort of give a thank you nod to towards Sony is the fact that it the system is capable of playing all the generation at PS games, because they did say during the reveal it'll be
All three of them?
yeah
Or
they
all
did
four of
say
them at this point?
yeah they did say you will be able to download and play PS1, 2, and 3 games to on the PS4. So I can at least say at least they've made the console possible to run the stuff. Microsoft, we don't really know, and based off that one announcement they said, I doubt they'll even consider in the future do an update or whatnot. So Sony's still going to retain fans from their PS family. Um, I did get rid of my PS3 for the Wii U since I really didn't like the PS3 itself per se, but if there are any cool exclusives or PS3 games I want, well, I guess I could still get them without having to buy the system.
Yeah, that's like I guess that is a kind of the bonus to it. Though I mean, like saying that you're playing your that you can play your like all of your systems. That's a pretty big thing. That's a pretty big deal.
I know that's
All
one thing.
four
That's
like
one.
from all four gens. That's pretty big because
Yeah,
that's like over 30 years of gaming.
yeah,
Like
that's the
not 30,
one thing
10 to 12.
I definitely give Sony a pat on the back for is that every new PlayStation has always been backwards compatible with the previous system. Heck, the Vita, for as much as a failure as it is, it may not be able to play UMDs, but the PS4 you can still download your PSP games onto it. Um, really, that service is only going to be useful since
What the one that allows you to actually play your Vita game, your like PS3 games on your Vita.
I was going to say, oh, the remote play. Yeah, hopefully they take a little more advantage of the PS4. But what I was gonna say is, um, even though I still have my PSP, and even though I still have my PS2, if I want to play games a little more efficiently, instead of having to track down a physical copy, I could just download it and it works on the system. Unlike the 360 or whatever, I have to go and manually hunt down everything physically because the Xbox One isn't backwards compatible. Um, I mean, it's nice to own the actual hardware, but it's going to get really bulky. I mean, I own about 17 consoles, and I'm almost at the point where I have to start stacking one on top of the other. So, saving a little bit of space with the backwards compatibility. And not only that, I own no PS1 games, and like I said, I don't have the PS3 anymore, so this would be a really nice benefit for me to get back into those systems
Hmm.
for the exclusives. PS1 had a lot of exclusives thanks to not Sony, Sega's little backstab with the Saturn. So if there were any
One,
good games that were going to come out on the Saturn, they all went to PS1. I never had a PS1, so I missed out on a lot of good games. I
you
did,
missed out on a good few, but you
yeah,
didn't miss
good,
out on much.
yeah, good few. I do have um, Crash Bandicoot 3, I think, on the 360. Or no, I think that's on the PS3 and then I got rid of it. Anyways, I have one of the Crash Bandicoot games on the 360 from Xbox Live. Um, but yeah, the backwards compatibility thing is something Sony, of course, wins again, and thank you for allowing me to spend more money on your stuff. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have bothered with.
The problem with Microsoft, and just looking at it, now that I'm not multitasking, I can actually focus on the conversation, so no more awkward silences for me. But the problem with Microsoft and what they've been doing is that they created the Xbox. Good system, it had some nice games, yada yada yada. Then they made the Xbox 360, but they
Which was even
forgot
better.
to make it backwards compatible for a lot of the games. They had a system, I remember, originally that allowed you to do it, but it was not that great. It was a
I know.
very, very shitty system, if I'm completely honest. Like, only a few games got on it, and the games that did, almost no one knew, or they weren't really appreciated by the gaming community at all. So, yeah, they really needed to work on backwards compatibility. And the Xbox One, still the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. That doesn't have backwards compatibility, does it? Except for the 360 because of
No,
Kinect.
it isn't even backwards compatible with the 360. I think at this point Microsoft just threw up their hands and say F it.
It's not backwards compatible with the 360.
It's not backwards compatibility at all with anything. No
Then I
accessories, no controllers, no games, no nothing.
then that would mean that
Not even the original Kinect.
if I had an Xbox, I have officially wasted over like hundreds of upon $1,000 maybe for gaming services on a single system, and now I have to keep it. And you know, Microsoft, they're gonna be the type to sit there and I don't put soda. They're gonna sit there and sit there and close servers on their Xbox. So then what? Then I can't even play my old Xbox games anymore. Or I can play them on single player, but I can't play them on multiplayer,
Well,
which
that's
is
going to be that's going to be the
sad.
problem with almost all games going retro, because if you look, the Dreamcast servers, they're gone. The original Xbox Live servers, they're gone. That's just a problem with online gaming in general.
Now on PC. PC always had LAN.
Yes,
PC
because
always has LAN, so you can almost always, for any game, always have multiplayer,
yeah,
whether it's actual servers or anything like that.
because PC does whatever the heck PC wants. It doesn't go through console generations. It just has its own never-ending system.
It's the never-ending generation. You can always say, well, the Xbox 360 is gone, the PS3 is gone, but I always have my PC. Do I sound biased? I am. Nah, just kidding.
But
No,
also, at the same time, there's just a slight satisfaction in being able to own and hold and fondle your own physical media. But I also like the efficiency of just having everything downloaded and ready to go.
yeah, digital media has been the major thing now. A lot of Nintendo games on the 3DS can actually be digitally downloaded, can't they?
Yeah, the 3DS and Wii U.
Yeah, so even Nintendo's getting into digital downloading because it's better for manufacturing's sake because it costs less to manufacture. Well, actually, it costs virtually nothing to manufacture a game for digital release compared to making a game with actual like discs and stuff. Because then you have to pay. Because if you just make it digital release, which is what a lot of indie devs have to do, then they don't have to sit there and pay someone to actually like produce boxes, make box art, and all that. They could just make that themselves and then just release that in a digital form.
Yeah, I guess speaking of Wii U, now would be a good way to segue into that. Obviously, we can talk a little more about that system since it's been on the market for about half a year. And it's failing harder than any other Nintendo system I know of.
I was listening to the Giant Bombcast earlier today, and what's his name? Patrick on there, I think. Yeah, Patrick something. I forgot his last name. He was talking about how people always joke with the Wii U failing, like, haha, Nintendo, you have a failing system. But that's actually a very serious claim. Because when Nintendo, who's been around since the 80s and 90s,
Actually,
they're failing.
yeah, Nintendo was actually formed in the 1800s, making them one of the oldest even just gaming company in general.
Let's say for what probably most people would remember from the 80s and 90s,
Yeah,
if we're talking about that Nintendo that has actually sat there and now has a failing system, there is a major problem with the gaming industry at the moment that is actually a serious claim because Nintendo should never be without money.
yeah.
They should never have a failing system because they're Nintendo. Everyone knows them. They're the grandfather of gaming next to arcades.
Well, I think the grandfather claim can go to Atari, especially like the grandfather, it's dead now. Um, However, one thing I was thinking, we just have to wait until summer when we get the big announcement about Smash Bros. And not Double Dash, Mario Kart. But then the problem I started thinking of was the GameCube, because that underperformed to Nintendo standards, and by their sales figures, the GameCube was considered a failure, even though it had Melee and Double Dash. So it's like, I'm starting to think now, is the Wii U in a deep enough hole where not even Smash Bros. And Mario Kart can save it? And
People people will pay $300 something for Smash Bros. Just because they love Smash Bros. So it's not. I don't even think it's that. I think what the problem is that a lot of the time is that a lot of this whole like period between this time and the Christmas season, Nintendo has just been in a dry spell, and they don't have anything new, and they're not talking about stuff. They're just saying, oh, we'll talk about this at either E3, pre E3, post E3, or around that time period, which is just it's just like this. It's just like this entire season. Spring and summer, watch, they'll have virtually nothing released except for indie devved projects.
well,
And
actually, not Project 100, Wonderful 101, Pikmin 3 is supposed to come out soon
in the summer,
in
I'd
the
be very
summer.
surprised because most
Yeah,
game developers treat the
Pikmin.
summer like it's the worst time to sell video games when it's actually when you think about it, the best time
I
because
know that's what I
most
was gonna say because everyone's out of school for the summer. That's when everyone's gonna pick up a game and play.
it's
Um,
the worst time at Christmas because everyone's in school,
well,
so they're
actually, well,
pay.
Well, actually, you get winter break, and most schools get like 3 weeks off.
Oh,
Um,
well, my school gives us like a week and a half, 2 weeks, so.
just wait until
Maybe,
you get to college. You get like 4.
oh, that will be the day.
Yeah.
For a month out of school for winter break, I will sit there and I'll just tell my school to suck my dick.
Well,
2 week, your 2 week absence from school, and then just rush us back into the building and you never go outside. So,
well,
oh.
actually, one of my friends, his school actually gave him 6 weeks off. But I believe it or not, the students were complaining that was too much time, so I rolled it back to 4.
Those students are idiots, and they don't know how to appreciate anything. Give me that. Give it to me. I want it. It's mine. I deserve it.
But yeah, Pikmin 3 is coming out August 4th, I think was the date.
That's close. That's good enough, I guess. I just hope
It's
that's
a little
not
late
like.
in summer though, for my taste.
It's just hope that it's not too short because Pikmin 2 is relatively long. Pikmin 1 was pretty short, so I just hope it's not one of those like Nintendo games that's like, oh, excuse me, oh, that's a great Nintendo game, but it's kind of shortish.
Yeah, because we don't know how long it's been in development for.
It's
However,
if you make a short game, and this is the thing Nintendo can't do, they can't make a short game. They have to make a good long game to get people over. And the problem with them is that they made like stuff like Mario, and Mario sells, but Mario's getting he's a whore that's kind of starting to show his age, to the extent that he's being whored out a bit too much. Uh,
well, I do admit 3D Land wasn't exactly the most polished, but I just have a feeling that they care more about their console Mario games rather than the handheld Mario games.
but they released like four of them, like three or four of them, almost at the exact same time. 3D Land, and they 1 year I think, and then they released New Super Mario Bros. 2 and New Super Mario Bros. U almost at the same time. And 3D Land was already on the 3DS, and then 2 was on the 3DS as well. And 2 was, from what I understood, not a very good game, too easy, uh, with all their coin gimmicks and all that.
Yeah,
It was,
two is the weakest link. U's the best, and I guess Wii's in the middle. And then no one remembers the DS one.
no one remembers it, but it had one of my favorite power-ups, the blue shell power-up. I don't know why. I love that power-up. It's just a defensive power-up, but I just love it.
Because it's useful and it doesn't go for the person in first. But I'm dish.
Lame.
Speaking of which, the Mario Kart 7 is even more broken since it travels along the ground and still goes after the person in first.
I
I
never
think
liked the blue
that
shell. I always thought it was a nice thing to try and let players in the back try and help them out a bit, but no, it shouldn't be as common as it usually is, where there
yeah.
could be blue shells flying at the same person all at
So
the
you didn't
same
even
time.
get them when you're in the back. It's more like when you're in the mid-range, like 5th or 6th.
Yeah, that starts to really get annoying. You should have like it should be a percentile chance. If you're in first place, you have you have a percentile chance to get it, but it's really low. And if you're
Yeah,
in
because you
first
totally want
place,
to blue
it's
shell your
relative.
first when you're in first place.
I've had that before in Double Dash where I've had blue shells, and I didn't know it. I remember the first time I played Double Dash back in the day, I didn't know what a blue shell was, so I was in first place and I got it just at random, and I threw it, and then it hit me, and I lost, and I was sad. That was a that was a very
Well,
sad day.
you must have been just like
Yeah.
when you hit the iron box, must have been in second or third or something. I do have an action replay code for Double Dash for purely random items. And what's funny is, I guess there's an unused empty slot, so using that code, you actually have a slight chance of getting no item at all.
That's actually relatively cool. I'd like to see that
And
because it's a nice little trick to trick players. Like, oh, if only I got this blue shell, I could actually
yeah, and you can
win the
also
race.
get the blue shell in first, and also get the other characters can get the special items like the chain chomps and fireballs.
Cool. Interesting action replay sounds.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's what actually makes Double Dash a little more balanced. Um,
Wow. An
yes.
action replay code.
Yes, you actually need to make random things to have make a game balanced. Um,
It's usually the opposite way around. The, usually random things usually make games unbalanced. Random crit chance and all that. But
yeah. Well, after we went off on that great tangent, um, so I was looking around before and I found this article. It's a short few sentence article, but apparently after the Xbox One reveal
hmm
on, I guess, Amazon UK's website, the Wii U sales jumped up about 875%, going from number 390 before the conference up to the number 40 slot on Amazon.com.
now, did Amazon have a sale going on at that time? Because you also had to take because that you also have to take that into account. Because if they had a sale going on, that would explain why the console jumped in on popularity.
No, Nintendo isn't giving up on the price yet.
They really should. At this point, just sell it for the same price that Wii's are being sold because really you named it wrong. It should have been named the Nintendo Cafe because that actually would have well, then again,
Yeah,
people would have started because people are idiots. People would have started thinking that I'm going to go to the Nintendo Cafe, and then someone would say it's not a place, it's a video game console. And it's like what? So nah, I get, but it should have been named something else other than Wii U,
yeah.
Either Wii 2 or something like that,
Just an
because
entirely different name would have been better.
or something because Wii U is one of the most confusing names next
Not as
to my,
confusing as Xbox One.
next to Xbox One. It's like Xbox One beats it out by like a little smidgen more because now you're wondering which Xbox am I talking about? The first one, the 360, or one, which means there are two ones in the Xbox line. But whatever, the Wii U should have been named something different because people don't know what a Wii U is, and parents don't know what a Wii U is. I remember my aunt. She said, "Oh, I want to get the new Wii." And the guy was like, "Oh, so you want to get the Wii U?" And she was like, "Is that the new Wii?" I thought it was I thought the Wii would. She didn't know. She doesn't know. Like we know because we pay attention to this type of stuff because that's the type of thing that we're interested in. But to her, the Wii is a Wii. She doesn't know that the Wii U is a completely different system with a giant gamepad. Which, by the way, that controller, I'm not too hot on that screen in the middle of it. It makes sense from the sense that you can take your game on the go with you to the bathroom or something if you want it to.
It's almost like they're trying to make the Wii U a consoleized DS, where the TV is like the top screen, then the controller tablet is like the bottom screen. Because you got the touch screen,
Oh
then you got
my,
your top screen, and the way you interact with it, it could be used like like a DS plugged into the wall, basically.
because think about it. If you're playing a console game and you use the touchpad as a screen for like a map, then that's just like a lot of DS games.
Like DS and 3DS. I even remember talking to my friend a couple months ago or so, like, if the Wii U succeeds, it's going to be because the games, developers are going to treat it like a DS and make it like DS games, since, most of the DS games were good.
You remember how the Wii U was always talked about when in conferences and stuff about how great the developers love it and how like how Nintendo is working really hard to make sure devs know how to work with the Wii U.
Not
What happened?
really.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Oh, excuse me. Okay, but it seems like now they just kind of crapped on that and basically fell all over on it.
Hmm. I don't know, I never really remember hearing anything about that. Even though the controller is wide, it is still pretty comfortable to hold in their hands. That is one thing Nintendo's always been good on. It's actually making pretty good controllers.
Yeah.
And I sort of like the screen in the middle. I could see some interesting use out of it. It almost reminds me of the Dreamcast. However, it's probably going to be a little more useful than the miniature VMU screen sticking out on the controller.
What was the point of that screen? I never saw the point of it. I didn't have a Dreamcast when I was a kid, so I didn't know what it was for. What was it for?
I guess they were hoping for developers to make like little. Hmm. I know, like in the NFL game, or not NFL, is it NFL? Wherever Sega's football game was, you could use it to make your plays on your controller. So when you're playing multiplayer, you could use it. I think one of the Resident Evil games, it displays your life bar on it. So I guess they wanted you to use like a little miniature, like stuff that you wouldn't have on the TV or to declare the TV. I guess like a little status screen.
I
I
see, like
guess.
a kind of like if you're playing like an RPG or something, you could use that for your stats
Yeah.
and for leveling.
However, developers 99% of the time didn't, and all it did was just display a little graphic of the game title.
Yeah.
Probably
Well,
because the screen was so small and the resolution so bad.
shitty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was worse than the Game Gear.
Interesting thing to know. I pulled up Amazon.uk's website. The Wii U Premium actually jumped up again and is now in the number 11 spot, up 220%.
Wow.
Rank 48 was 154.
And that is at 11:57 p.m. my time, people. That is real time, new information for you. Look at
And this
that.
is
MSX.
yeah, this is at the what you call it? Wait, well, actually, I can't really confirm because I'm not sure what the price is in the UK with all the conversion and everything.
Hmm.
I
I can
think
tell. Just kidding.
£229.99.
I just know that that is more than at least $250. I think in the United States money. I think I can
It
if
A
I'm
pound
remembering.
is about a buck and a half, so basically half of 230 and add that. So it's about $300. So it's about our price.
Yeah.
And now, if my hunch is correct, I should see the Wii U Basic somewhere around here. No, I don't see the Wii U Basic. I guess I guess they're just referring to the Wii U in general. Oh, speaking of Wii U, did you hear that you're going to be able to pick up a physical copy of Super Luigi U?
What?
Yeah,
But that's just an expansion for Super
yeah, they're
Mario.
slapping the DLC onto a disc and selling it for only $30.
But it's DLC
That they're slapping onto a disc as well.
for 30, not $10, not $20.
Well, for the physical disc.
But it's DLC.
Yeah, it comes with this nice screen case.
Is it wait, does with the Wii U? Because I've never asked this because I know that the 3DS is not actual DLC. It's like a key that they give you that unlocks the thing in the game. So it's technically always on disc DLC with the 3DS. But with the Wii U's DLC, isn't it downloaded like normal DLC and then it's a
I think
patch?
it is yeah, I think it is normal DLC. But I'm not
So
sure because I know the what you call with the 3DS. Yeah, it's basically on disc or on cards. It gives you a little a little key to access it, or in like the case of bug fixes like Mario Kart 7, what it does is create the patch file and saves onto your SD card, and when your game loads, it loads the patch file from the SD card. It doesn't actually patch the cartridge.
hmm,
The Wii U, I'm not sure. I would assume it's actual DLC because when I was looking through the system menu, I don't see the extra file creates from Sega's patch for Sonic All-Star Racing Transformed, whereas on the 3DS, it's actually a file saved on the SD card, but on the Wii U, I didn't see it on the system, so I'm guessing it was physically patched to the disc. So at least they're starting to get DLC right.
yeah, but Nintendo has been out of this game for years, and they really need to they're just jumping into DLC. Look at the Wii. The Wii couldn't even handle DLC because of the low file size limit.
And what I find very funny is I remember seeing this little clip from like '02, '03, somewhere around there, basically during the early GameCube era, and how it was Iwata saying how we didn't want online gaming. We wanted our games to stay in the living room. And now I just look at it as like I wish I could just slap him.
If you
Because
took,
the Wii, not the Wii, the GameCube had a broadband adapter, but it was sold separately and no one used it. No, only one game used the broadband adapter, and it was Sega's Phantasy Star Online, and it wasn't even an original game. It was a port from the Dreamcast version. So the only online game on the GameCube wasn't even an original game.
I don't know why they thought that that would work. And really, if you put me in if you took me to the past, and I showed Iwata this right now, he would have sat there and made the Wii's online the best
They
online.
would have also pushed with the GameCube because the GameCube was really the last console where they were cared about system specs. After the GameCube practically failed, they're like, we're not going to focus on hardware. We're going to focus on innovation and fun games. I mean, I do like the fact that they're making fun games, but Nintendo games have always been fun.
The thing is, the GameCube, it had the specs to really handle it, and even the PS2's online. Look at that online. The PS2's online was not that great.
Um,
Xbox Live was pretty good, but the PS2 from the online, I remember playing for the little bit I did. I don't remember it being super duper hot. I remember having a lot of disconnection issues.
Yeah, also at the same time, that was Sony's first attempt at doing online. They were going to originally release a modem for the PS1, but I guess dial-up speeds back then were worse than Dreamcast era, so they scrapped that modem. PS2 was their first attempt, and the reason why Microsoft's online is so good is because it's a paid service, so they actually have money to keep up the services. The Sony isn't, but they're really improving fast. I mean, I think the PS3 online's close to 360 online.
Mm, 360 online, I think had better game fidelity compared to the PS3s. But that's as a person who doesn't own either, that is a personal observer's opinion. So don't take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but either or, Sony's improving really fast, and this is coming from basically no funding for their online services, whereas Microsoft has. Um,
Hmm.
the Wii U online, it really more so depends on the developer itself, because the online for Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, I could say probably playing the Dreamcast with dial-up would probably give you a better connection in that game. However, I heard the Call of Duty on the Wii U, the online capability is flawless. So it really depends on how hard do the developers really want to have their online work.
Wait, you said the Call of Duty on the Wii U is flawless?
That's what I heard.
Hmm.
It's like one of the best. So it's more so how does the developer want to make online? Do they really care or don't they? Which is after hearing that, I'm praying Nintendo cares and makes next Mario Kart and Smash Bros. Online hopefully two steps better than the Wii's.
Oh yeah, because Smash Brothers Online was terrible. Past two players, you instantly start getting lag everywhere. Just lag everywhere. Lag all over the place.
Yeah, a
All over the
2 minute
screen.
match turns into a 10-minute match.
No, oh my goodness gracious. So much
However,
lag.
yeah, the Wii
PTSD.
But the Wii U services are a step up. The whole Nintendo network, they try to basically upgrade their Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, and we got Nintendo Network. I mean, Mario Kart 7's online is definitely better than Mario Kart Wii, but now that I'm seeing a lot more players with Mario Kart 7 than I did at launch, I did start to notice lag, but definitely nowhere near as bad as Mario Kart Wii. So Nintendo's improving slowly but surely. hopefully by the time the next Mario Kart and Smash Bros. Come out, they'll have mastered the online enough. Well, actually, with the next Smash Bros., um, Namco Bandai is supposed to have or be like really good with their online play, and that was part of the reason Sakurai went with them to make the next Smash Bros. Because of their fighting games background and their ability to do some really good online. So hopefully Namco Bandai could make Brawl one of the best online games on the Wii U.
Hmm.
And hopefully they'll be able to do a little bit of a better system because what's really dumb, Nintendo said, it's up to the developer how they want to use the online tools. So, like in Sonic All-Star Racing Transformed, you can't join your friend unless one of you hosts a private room, unlike Mario Kart Wii.
Which is just open.
Yeah. They said, oh, it's up to the developers how they want to do, how they want to utilize the friend stuff. Instead of having basically like
Dedicated servers.
yeah, I was gonna say instead of having like Xbox Live where you can just like go to your friend list and join, it's up to the developers if to make it up their own. It's sort of a little bull and laziness, and also showing how they still don't really care much about online, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah. Well, Nintendo, I think the thing about them is that they're just never going to care about online as much as they do their single players. I mean, even look at the Mario games. A lot of them are based around multiplayer, but they're not going to be based around online for that much. One, like the next one probably will have some online capabilities, but I think it's still going to be based around the thought of using your single player brush. And what I can give Nintendo credit for is that when it comes to multiplayer, they'll give you crappy AI teammates like they do in like Resident Evil 5 and all that, but otherwise, no, they're not that great at multiplayer. And personally, I think that they're just going to remain a major first party, like 1v1 type of thing going on.
yeah, the problem is I think ever since the GameCube, in their regards, failed, I think they just gave up about technology entirely, and and I'm sad to think that they probably won't care about tech anymore. They're just gonna try about innovation, quote unquote, aka gimmicks. Yeah,
Gimmicks for the win.
I mean the N64, the SNES, the GameCube, they're really the most powerful consoles of their generations. But ever since Nintendo just loses once, it's enough for them to throw up their hands and say, "We're done with tech." Though if we want to get technical, I guess twice, because in North America, the Genesis pulled ahead of the SNES by a very narrow margin. But yeah, in terms of the Wii U, I guess that's the Wii U. So,
Hmm. There's really not much else to say. They just need to get some games on it, and really that's the sad thing is that they need games, a gaming
yeah,
system games. But it's just like the 3DS. The 3DS bombed at its launch.
yeah, I think the problem is they keep getting paranoid that they have to throw something out there, and they're throwing it out with literally no games. I mean, the first time they tried that, we got the Virtual Boy. Look how well that worked out for them.
Oh, Jesus Christ, don't remind me of the Virtual Boy.
So,
Just bad memories.
in
Bad
hind
memories.
in hindsight, Nintendo just needs to stop getting a little paranoid. They're starting to turn to Sega and starting to think that they have to rush ahead. I mean, yes, the Wii's outdated, but if you look, the PS4 and the Xbox One aren't even coming out till at the end of the year 2014 the most. Whereas Nintendo, the Wii was doing so well, and then they felt like they had to rush ahead and get the Wii U out by the end of 2012. I mean, if we want to turn back the clock about 15 years, you got Sega with the Genesis. They were doing so well, they had to do nothing. But what do? They push out the Saturn, and look what happened. They're no longer making consoles. I would, I mean, worst case scenario is that history repeats itself, and then Nintendo has to bail out manufacturing hardware. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon, or at
Sega
all.
will partner with Nintendo, and they will create Nintendo or something like that before that happens.
Yeah,
Nintendo will never go out of business.
I mean, I highly doubt they're going to bail out the hardware industry within any of our lifetimes. But if they're just not careful, they're going to end up dangerously in the red. I mean, they're in the red now at the Wii U. So I guess after that, I guess we could talk about the fourth console of this generation. That one that's probably going to get overlooked at the most, the Ouya.
You can talk about that one. I am getting tired. It is midnight here. I'm getting so tired. I need to go do some push-ups or something. I have a project due tomorrow that I procrastinated on for so long.
So you have to do push-ups at midnight.
Yeah, do some type of exercise to keep myself up. And I have no idea what the Ouya is.
Basically, it could be summarized as Android on a stick. Take a mobile
Okay.
phone, consoleize it, and give it a 360 controller. Which brings
That
me,
means that has pretty bad battery life, more than likely.
well, it's gonna be plugged in. It's about the size of a small little cube, like maybe half a GameCube, I think.
Same difference. I don't care.
And also, it streams games online. It streams game from online. There's no disk drive or anything.
I think I remember hearing something about something like that. It was some other company that did something exactly like that. I can't remember what they were though, but they did virtually the same thing. They sent you a box, and then you installed everything on the box, and then what you did was you installed their program there, and then you would be able to connect that to your box,
Yeah.
boss, and then that would allow you to be able to move and get your games digitally instead of
Yeah.
did physically.
I think the Ouya is gonna be like the 3DO or the PC Engine, the one console everyone forgets exists. How, now, what I wanted to say before at the start when we're of our rambling is I'm going to call this generation the 360 controller generation because if you look at every controller for the console, they look almost all like the 360 controller. Microsoft, well, of course, it's their console. The Xbox One is, of course, going to look like the 360 controller. Wii U's got the Pro controller. The Ouya looks exactly like the 360 controller. Um, I guess Sony's just they have the DualShock design, but yeah, so I guess they're going to be the odd one out there, but it's the handles are looking a little more like the Xbox One controller. So yeah, I'm just going to call this the Xbox controller generation. And I guess that's all we have to say about this upcoming generation.
Really, this upcoming generation is not very appealing to me at the moment. I can just look at it and just say like, Wii U
Yeah,
needs
people are
games.
saying this generation is going to be the downfall of console gaming.
It
I
is,
I
and
wouldn't
that's
blame
why
them,
mobile
and if
gaming
that's the case, PC games will always be there for us.
and that's why mobile gaming, if you notice, really, mobile gaming has become such a huge thing for a lot of people. Just playing games on Android, playing games on iPad, iPhone, playing games on your 3DS, all that stuff. That's much more interesting and much more innovative for people.
Well, the only problem I have with it is it just looks like a 2-second time killer, because when I play games on my phone, it only really appeals for me for like 5 minutes, unlike console gaming, which can hold me in for a few days. That's the only problem I have. If it was something like getting a Mass Effect game on the iPhone, then I could probably see it really killing off console gaming. But that's neither here nor there right now. Speaking of which, Sega, if you do start to move into the mobile gaming industry and you decide to ditch console gaming, please make a Saturn emulator so I could take Panzer Dragoon on the go with me. Thank you very much.
Boy,
Anyways, so I guess that wraps up our thoughts about the console, about
mm-hmm.
Generation 8. Anything else you want to add?
The 3DS. What do you think of it? Did you mention anything?
Well, I was looking at the home console games, not so much handhelds, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
we already know how well the 3DS is doing, so I think that has to go. That doesn't have to go without saying anything. And we all know how hard the Vita's failing, but they said there's supposed to be some sort of killer app coming out for it in Japan. We don't know if it's going to get a U.S. release, but since the title is practically like something you would find from an English game, it's suggesting it could make a U.S. release. Some sort of I forgot the genre of it. I think it's some sort of RTS or RPG, something of that. Something that's really big in Japan. Oh no, it was something akin to Monster Hunter. That's what it was.
Monster Hunter is already pretty big in Japan, though.
Yeah, which is probably why they say it's going to be a killer app in Japan for the
Oh,
Vita.
hmm.
But yeah, I guess that's it. So,
That's it. That's all she wrote. The pencil broke. Candle's back is now officially broken. My mind is going all over the place of deadly sizes of just either helpful or just absolute garbage.
well, now I'll release you so you can bury your mind. So thank you everyone for listening, and see you again later.